Hey everyone, welcome to the pre-show. Hey Morgan Snow, nice to see you. Hey Barbie D, nice to see you as well. Are we all set? That's what the first 3 minutes is for. Just getting prepared. Boom, there's that. Boom, boom, and boom. We're set. Yay, all set. It's getting easier and easier until we shift something around. How is everybody tonight? Grumpy Stack, yo! Good to see you. So here we sit for about 2.5 more minutes. No. It's 9:01. It's almost 9:02, which means we got about a minute left before we go live on the radio station. And I hope you're all doing well tonight. Have you all seen the new Bud Light ad campaign? I saw one with a picture of Jim Carrey on it when he's wearing the little... He's playing the... What was that, 20 years ago he did that? I doubt that's actually going on the can. Hey, Valerie, good to see you. Barbie D, Paige Rockwell Soiree is here tonight. Good to see you. Carlene Smith, nice to see you as well. We got about 16 seconds, and we go live on the radio station, so I'm going to go dark, as usual, and we'll be back with the entrance of the show. Sit tight.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the program. This is Scotty Roberts. You're watching and listening to the Intrepid radio broadcast right here on Subspace Odyssey. And you can hear the audio version of this broadcast over on Subspace Odyssey. Just go to Subspace Radio, subspace.radio. And you can also go to odysseyradio.com. That's ODYSY, spelled differently, ODYSY radio.com. And you can hear the archives of this show replayed throughout the week as well. And it's an audio only. And if you're not here and you're listening somewhere else, you can come over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. Join the fellow Intrepids in the chat room, and you can watch the broadcast for as much as that is. You'll see the different faces more in the captain's cabin. Just my face for an hour, but we'll talk and we'll do the best. I'll make the best faces I can for everybody, since we're also on video simulcast. And come on over there, by the way, to my YouTube channel. Subscribe and hit the join button. See what you want to do there. So thanks for being here, everybody. People are gathering over in the chat room. And those of you who are not in the chat room but are still over there watching and listening, come on over to the chat room. Meet the Intrepids and have some good conversation going on while we're talking. Rainey and the kids are all upstairs. Rainey's got a friend over, and they're all sitting up there chatting and chattering away. Girl talk, all of them, and except for Flynn, and he's not girl talking. And last night, by the way, my daughter Abby sent us tickets for a local theater to go to all across the country. They were playing Lord of the Rings: Return of the King in a kind of a not quite exactly, but kind of a 20-year anniversary of the release of that film. Can you believe that was 20 years ago? That was the third movie in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And they showed the director's cut, which you've seen all the average cuts, and then the CDs came out a few years ago that had the 3.5-hour director's cut. And now they've done the full theatrical director's cut. And it was about 4 hours and 20 minutes long. There was maybe, about 10 or 15 minutes worth of stuff at the beginning, where they're showing games that are being played with Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, kind of advertisements. But other than that, it was quite a long showing of that movie, and it was fantastic. And there were a few things I noticed that were different. It was fuller. Some of the scenes had, it wasn't like, oh, there was a missing scene that was added in. It was more expansion of the scenes that were already there. And so that made it very interesting and exciting to watch. So Flynn, my 13-year-old boy, and I went to see that last night. And it was sold out at all the theaters that were close by. We had to go about 35 miles to go find a theater and that had the seating. And it was all reserved seating and so on. So we got where do you like to sit in the theater? Right in the back of the theater, either the back row or the first 2 or 3 rows, smack in the middle. That's where I like to be in the theater. And so it was great with the big sound. Boy, that brought back memories, because with my daughters, Abby and Bryn, when they were little, we used to go to all the Harry Potter movies and the Lord of the Rings movies. We're talking 20 years ago. We'd go to the midnight showing on opening night, and it was always midnight on Thursday, because the show would traditionally always open up on a Friday, these big movies, but they'd start them at midnight on Thursday, which is actually Friday morning. And so we got to go, we went to all the big movies like that, most specifically the Harry Potter movies and the Lord of the Rings movies. So that brought some good memories back as I was able to experience that with my son last night. It was a good time. And so that's what we did. But as per the title of tonight's show, I did want to talk about something in particular about tonight's show, or about where my head is at tonight. I called it Exploding Head Psychedelic Brain Mush Friday. Exploding Head Psychedelic Brain Mush Friday. You ever had one of those days? You ever have those days at the end of the week? That's where my head is tonight. When I was trying to really come up with a good topic for tonight for Ghost Night, because Friday is Ghost Nights, I thought, to hell with it. I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not thinking. I got no brain power left. I got a mush head tonight. My brain is on a very low ebb, and I've been kind of fuzzy all day. It's just one of those busy weeks, and it's not like a sick fuzzy or anything. Like, I'm not. It's not bad health or anything. It's just I'm mushy. Too much going on, too much thinking, too much staring at my computer. As you know, we are launching, because I've announced it, we are launching this over here, right over here on the top. Let's see, it's going to be the right-hand side of your screen. Patriot Propaganda Apparel. We're launching that website. Was supposed to launch today. It's being put up by one business day. It's not going to happen until Monday. Just a lot of high-tech stuff with the IT guys that are building the site for us. And so it's going to drag out a little bit over the weekend before we launch. I figure that's okay. It's one business day. And then we'll be, if all goes well, knock on wood, that site will launch on Monday. And maybe we'll even get one of my partners on that business in here on Monday to talk about Patriot Propaganda Apparel.com. And if you go over there, I think you can see the site. I don't know if I see it because I signed into it originally when we started building it over a month ago, but you might be able to get a sneak peek at it. And it's, I'm not going to type it in, Patriot Propaganda Apparel.com. And you can see what we're doing over there. And we're getting a lot of good input out there, and that this is going to be something that has the potential of being very big. And now I've been to that. I've been the bridesmaid on many different things in the past, over the last 30 years. We say with tongue in cheek, we throw all the shit up against the wall to see what sticks when we're trying out businesses and trying to make something go. And this one has a slightly different feel to it because of the people involved, all the people on the outside of it that are how would you say this other than to say there are big names, big influence people? Now, I'm not talking social media influencers so much, but people with influence that are behind this and saying this is going to be really something and they expect high things from it. So we'll see what happens. So knock on wood. And Carlene says, I think the brain fog is catching. I have had one of those days also. Yeah, it's one of those days. Some of what I had to do today was just staring at my computer screen for most of the day today and not feeling real well to begin with. I had a little stomach something. Both Flynn and I will say this. We both ended up after the show last night. I think we ate too much popcorn and Milk Duds and Twizzlers. And for 4.5 hours, and we got out of the theater, and we were like, it don't feel so good. And and so today was a rough day. Let's put it that way, stomach wise, for both of us. And I let him stay home today because he didn't feel good this morning. And my son's got something with his stomach. There are things that he eats. We've tried to have him checked out, and they can't pinpoint anything. But for a couple of years, he's had a little something with his stomach when he eats certain things or drinks certain things. He gets sick to his stomach. And so last night, about 2/3 through the movie, he had to. He leans over and says, "Dad, I don't feel good. I feel like I might throw up." And I said, do you need some help? And of course he doesn't at 13. No, I got this. And he took what was left of the bucket of popcorn. And he went over around the corner in the theater. We were in the top and there's kind of a dark corner over there. And he just sat there and he sat like this for about 20 minutes. And then he said it cleared up and he felt pretty good. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Uncle Dave, gluten? I don't know. But must be something in the air as for projects go, says Uncle Dave. I agreed to a verbal NDA on an upcoming project. There you go. Well, tell us about it, Dave. What is it? So, yeah, these are big doings with Patriot Propaganda. And so we'll see how it goes. And if you can go take a look, you'll get an idea. I've showed you some of the stuff that's going to be coming out on Patriot Propaganda before. So, yeah, if I have too many Twizzlers, says Anita Palmer, I had about 4 or 5 Twizzlers. Flynn had a bag of them, and there weren't any left when we were done. So, but Milk Duds, I think it's the popcorn. It's the greasy popcorn that you get at movie theaters. So there was that. I had that going on today, and I had all this nitty gritty little stuff to do for the website over the last couple of days, but today especially because we were in crunch time. And where we've got 5 basic garments that we're coming out with, designs, I should say, we had to have little graphics showing the different garments in their various colors. And I said, can't we just do a drop-down menu? No, we need to show all these. So I think over the last 2 days, I've created 85 or so different graphics of shirts, people with shirts on and different colors and all of that with all our designs. When you figure if you got 5 or 6 basic designs and each one of those needs 3 to 5 different color photos made, but that's just for the t-shirt. Then you got the t-shirt, you got tank tops, you got women's fitted tees, you got hoodies. All those categories had to have the same treatment. So when you start taking 5 times 4 is 20 times 5 or 6, there, that gives you an idea, 100 to 120 images. So it's always something. Well, there was that. And then, regular family stuff going on. And also, here, I'm going to tell you all something. I'm going to tell you this, for somebody like me who has been an artist my whole life, as most of my regular listeners know, I was in advertising for many years. I've been on my own as a freelance designer and illustrator and writer for the last 20 years, 15 to 20 years. And it's a roller coaster. There's times it's really good. There's times it's really bad. But overall, when you step back from the last 20 years, I can never look at that and say it was overall really good, because it wasn't. It's a tough go sometimes. And I thought, yeah, maybe I should have been a doctor, like my mom said, or a lawyer, or something like that. So you know how life goes. Life doesn't go exactly how you plan it. Now, that doesn't mean I've had a bad life. It just means I've never quite made it to that place where we felt really comfortable. And we've never built a house, although we've owned a couple. And you look back and you try to gauge your successes. And then you look back and you say, at my age, I have much fewer years left ahead than I have behind me. So I look at, okay, is there a certain, well, we know there's a finiteness to the things we put our hands to, but is there a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Not inevitable. There is a futility. Maybe it's a good way. That's maybe too negative a word, but there's a certain futility. You start new things, new projects, and let's say next year we finally get to build our house. And you look at that and you say, how many years do I have left while I can enjoy that house now that I'm into my early 60s? And maybe I'll live to be 104. I don't know. And I'll have 40 years there. How many of those are good years where you have your own land and your own house, and you finally build that house? It has a little courtyard in it, and you might have a stable. You might have something like that. And you say, okay, how long will it be before that's unenjoyable? Because of the age I'm at. And so you start to look at all those things. You start to add things up, and you say, yes, life can be, and I'm a positive person and I have those thoughts. I'm generally an optimistic kind of a person. That doesn't mean I don't have my pessimistic moments. No, I nix that. I don't have pessimistic moments. I have whining moments, complaining moments, because something didn't happen the way I wanted to happen. Or, there's always the struggle. There's always the struggle to stay ahead. Sometimes it's not just to stay ahead. It's to get out from being behind. And so life is made of these things. And that's where I've tried to develop that personality trait or that character trait that says, look, I'm striving to be content where I am and content with what I have and do my best to make the ends meet. But it seems like the other end keeps wanting to try to catch up to you and bite you in the ass. And so you keep pushing to get ahead. And so, that's a phrase we use too, to get ahead. You keep pushing sometimes to keep your head above the water. And so, Valerie, I have Speedo. No, I don't have any Speedos anymore. Not anymore. Haven't had them for years. But so I went and I did this thing. And I'll make, it feels like a confession almost, because it's a bit embarrassing. It's a bit humiliating. Maybe humbling, somebody would say, humiliating. A couple of my close friends know. But things were so tight around here. I said, I got to do something to augment the income, because my art business is, it's a roller coaster, and it's a roller coaster that's going like this because of the changing times and the number of people out there that do what I do on the computer as opposed to traditionally, and they can charge $15 for what I used to be able to charge $450 for. Gives you an idea of the change over the last 10 years. And so you're struggling always to stay on top of the curve. And so I went and I took a job at a gas station. And that's for those of you wondering on Morning Coffee with KB. I have been working 8 in the morning to 2 o'clock shifts a few days this week, and it started last week. I signed on because it was more money. I signed on to do the night shift, which is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 4 nights a week. And I thought I can do that. I'm already up till 2 and 3 in the morning all the time anyway. Then I'm up all the time anyway to take my kids to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so I figured I could probably manage it. I can come home, make some coffee, take my kids to school at 7 and get them rolling, and come back home, grab, do morning coffee with KB and grab a nap. And so I start thinking, boy, is that going to be something that I will be able to maintain? 30 years ago, hands down, I could maintain that. Yesterday, I spent, now get this, and these are the things that go through your mind. And I have said to some of my friends that know about this and to my wife, I say, I push a positive way of viewing things in life. And when I was in business, we in a couple of companies I was with in ad agencies, we used the fish philosophy, which was out of the Pike Place Market in Seattle. And I've talked about this before. And there's some of those principles that they have of the fish philosophy, which is number one, being there. Number two, making your own attitude. Number three, making somebody's day. And number four is slipping my mind at the moment. But the idea was you be present and you make your day and you make other people's day. You don't have to like your job or love what you're doing, but you have to love your life and you have to share that with other people and let people know. So I am going to, that's the approach I took when I said, okay, I'm going to have to take this job. I'm doing this to bring in some extra cash. And I look at it and it pays. Boy, and these times have changed too. When I worked a job like this 40 years ago, you'd make $2 to $3 an hour. Now, and what was tempting about it was it pays $18.50 an hour. I thought, oh, that's not bad. That's still less than I could make. Okay, I could work one full day. I could work a month at $18.50 an hour. You can do the math and figure it out. But I'll sometimes get a job that takes me 3, 4, 5 days to complete, and I've made twice as much of that money. But those jobs are coming fewer and fewer these days for some reason. And the last quarter of last year was abysmal. The first quarter of this year. So all these were factors that built into a decision of, okay, do I have to go dig ditches for a while? And I believe you me, when I was standing in this gas station mini market the other day, I spent the first, I had a 6-hour shift. Well, like I'll have tomorrow now, 8 to 2. I'm still in training. So I spent the first third of the day watching videos, training videos in the back room. The second third of the day, working the cash register. Hey, how are you? Let me ring that up for you. Beep, 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 beep. You ring it all up, charge them, and you go, have a nice day. See you next time. And chit-chat with them if you can. A little bit, seconds of chit-chat. And so I started doing that. And then I spent the third of my day yesterday stocking tobacco products. And I remember sitting there, and I've got a good attitude. I'm always trying to be cheery, and I talk cheery, and I keep a good effervescent smile on my face, and not a creepy smile, just decent guy, good to be around. But in my mind, as I'm unwrapping tins of tobacco snuff and looking for the right slot for it to go, and it sounds like a small job, huge box of, it took me probably an hour and a half I spent on that at the end of my day. And I'm thinking in my head, let's see, I have, and most of you know about my degree situation, but I said I've attended 5 years of post-high school education, college, and then work on my master's degree. And I said, I spent 30 years in advertising. More than half of that time is in kind of an executive capacity as a creative director. I have written books. I've got 5 books out there. 6. I have illustrated books. I've been on television for certain shows. I do this radio show. This is small time, but you get the idea. And so I've done certain things in my life. I've traveled. I've written about my travels. And it comes down to 40 years after the day I started doing this, and I have to go get a job at a gas station to make my ends meet. And I thought, so that goes through my head while I'm doing that. And I think, what in the world happened? What happened that this did not steer the direction I thought it would be? Why do all the guys I went to college with seem to be retiring around me and getting nice payoffs? I had a friend of mine who worked at Ford for over 30 years in their finance department. He just took an early retirement. He's a year older than me. I have another friend who was a roommate of mine in college one year, and we were friends for a while, and we went different ways. But he started a silver refinery back in the early 1980s, probably around 1980, where he'd have little machines that would extract the silver nitrate from photo developing chemicals. Now, as you know, that's all changed now. But back in 1980, he had a lot of hospitals that were clients. They would bring in, the machine would extract all the silver nitrate flake, and they'd take that flake and they'd refine it and mint silver bars. And he retired about 5 years ago, 6 years ago maybe, and doing really well for himself. Another friend, Andy Dabbs, he sold off his business and became a multimillionaire, and he's 10 years younger than me. So I've got all these people I know, and I look at my own life and I say, okay, what is it that turned the wrong way somewhere? What did I do differently that I should have done a better way? Why am I at 62? I've got a family still with 3 new kids compared to my first kids. It's the only time I ever refer to them that way. The old kids and the new kids. And trying to maintain that. Now, all of you, I'm bringing this up because hopefully all these kinds of details might spark a little something in your own head and say, oh, yeah, there's these things. There's this I could have done and that. That's why I strive so much to, not strive is not the word, why I repeat so much that 20 years from now quote. 20 years from now, you'll regret more of the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast off the bow lines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Set your sails to the trade winds. Explore, dream, discover. These are the things that... wait, what did Paige just say? Face green, smiling face, orange, raised eyebrow face, blue, wide eyes, glitch monsters. Oh, I think you're trying to type out emojis. It's coming across as text in the chat room. It looked kind of funny. So I don't want to glaze anybody's eyes over with this. It's not telling my personal story to whine about it or anything, but to say these are the places you find yourself sometimes. And so you go to a job that makes your head turn to mush. And then you come back and you do the job that you're calling, the thing that you're doing, the things you've done for years. And there are days where that amplifies the mush in your head because you're staring. All I did for 2 days while I was at this computer was stare at my computer doing graphics. And you step away and you go, oh, I got to clear my head. My eyes are wonky. My head's wonky. And you want to be the best you can be for everybody, but your brain turns to mush. Add on top of that the economy in our country, where we all are. Why are we struggling so hard to make ends meet? Maybe some of you aren't. Most people I know are, and they aren't my retired friends, by the way. Most of the people I know are struggling to make their ends meet. And if it's not a struggle, it's at least a strain sometimes. And you've always got to be making a little more money. There's a little more being taken here, a little more being taken there. There's more taxes coming out there. Gas prices, I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, but over here it's gone up 30 plus cents in the last 2.5 weeks. Every few days it's gone up another dime. And you say, how long can that keep going before it busts? It's the system is busted. We keep hearing all these things now because of the way things are in politics these days. It's not just one guy that gets all the news that the news likes to report is corrupt or doing something. Now it's all the guys that are doing the caterwauling about somebody else being corrupt or corrupt themselves. We've got a president in our country that, if you watched any of his time over in Ireland, you just sit back and you just kind of go, oh my God, that's the president of my country. And your mind gets extra fuzzy when you start adding that kind of stuff on top of it. That stuff that says, why do we have a man sitting in the office that is cognitively impaired? Why are we letting that go? Why are we not talking about that as being something that needs to be taken care of? It's because all of the people that surround him say, we can run this. He's just the figurehead. Whatever it is. Sean Stroik says, news is all BS. Add that to the mix. Is your head fuzzy yet? How about religion? How about faith? How about spirituality? What's the thing that keeps you going? In and under and around and over it all. If you weren't part of Ken's show this morning, we were talking about there was a guy that was making private advancements toward my friend Wendy, who, you know, Wendy, we do Robertson, a longtime friend of mine. And as I've said before, we've got about 20 years of history, Wendy and I. And so somebody made some not just untoward comments to her, but outright crass sexual comments to her in private, writing her in private. But this same guy is a guy who on his public Facebook page says how much he loves his wife and cherishes his wife and how precious she is to him, talks to people about praying to Jesus. I'll pray to Jesus for you and things like that. Yet in his private life, he does something like that. Yeah, Carlene, that took us all back today. And if we didn't named him, you'd probably know who it was. And so we didn't want to call him out by name, but Michael and I, or my friend Michael Brewer, those of you who don't know him, I think he's in the show tonight. What was yours? Exploring Fox something. I can't even remember what your moniker is, Mike. But yeah, we were talking about this yesterday, and said something's got to be said, something's got to be done, and because you just want to take somebody like Viking Off-Roading. Where did I get Fox out of that? Viking Off-Roading, Mike, and is in the chat room, and so we talked about them. We talked about that stuff this morning. I'm talking to women here. I'm going to ask you a question. Women, ladies, girls, however you care to be addressed. There it is, Viking. And when a guy approaches you out of the blue and starts messaging you and is filthy in his language. Now, you know me, guys. I'm no prude. I can hold my own in locker room talk with the best of them. But I think that, you know, this is one of those things I cringe away from saying a bit because I'm not tooting my horn here But when I say, I think I have character that extends beyond that, I got my own issues. God knows it. And I'm not perfect at all, nowhere near it. But I think I know how to treat people. I know how to talk to people. I know how to act appropriately. I know how to act badly, and I don't do it. I would be mortified to learn if I had ever offended somebody with something I said. That's you go so far out of your way to not make that problem happen. But then when you have somebody who paints this whole picture of themselves on one side, yet in private, you want to ask him, does your wife know what you said to Wendy in those messages? So, ladies, women, I'm going to ask you, what do you think of a guy when a guy comes to you and says something crass? Oh, okay, cover your delicate ears. I mentioned this one this morning, too. Cover your delicate ears, because I'm going to say something that we all know. We all know how to talk. We're all grown-ups and adults here, but we don't talk this way in public. But if somebody wrote you a message that says, oh, every time I see you online or think of you, I want to come in my sheets. Okay? Take that crass statement. Now, all by itself, you're in the right company with the right people. That's a totally fine statement to make, depending on who you're talking to. When you unsolicitedly say that to somebody else in a message, they did not solicit that behavior from you, and you start saying that and sending messages like that to somebody. Ladies, let me ask you, that turn you on? Does that make you go, oh man, I wish I knew this guy. I wish we were closer. I'm going to give him my phone number. Now, maybe there are some of you naughty lasses out there that would and find it just fine. But there are other ones, most women, I do not think find that attractive in men when they talk like that. And I want to ask a guy who talks that way, what makes you think that you're going to attract that woman with that kind of language? It's ridiculous. Makes you want to vomit, says Carlene. And what makes me want to vomit is not so much the words, because I say, look, I'm a grown-up. We can all talk whatever way we want. It's just who you talk to and how you use it. A word is a word is a word. Words mean something. What bothers me is that there's somebody who thinks that they can use a word that's for a singular context only and be able to try to let somebody know how much I'm a secret admirer because X, Y, Z, and then you lay out this crass lie. What makes that guy think that that's attractive to that woman who doesn't even know him? So what's going on in his mind? Is that the kind of statement that gets made from people who abuse sexuality, who abuse women, who abuse children, who abuse animals, who abuse anybody? Is that kind of that gateway kind of language in somebody that says this is something that is evident in almost everybody who's gone the next step or further or further or further? Yeah, Valerie, it makes me laugh at how dumb it is too. So don't think I'm puritanical or I'm Puritan or anything like that. That kind of language doesn't shock me. And frankly, I don't give a flying rat's ass. It doesn't bother me. But if somebody said that to my wife, I'd probably punch him in the mouth. And if it was unsolicited that way, in the vein I'm talking. So what makes a guy think that that's something that will attract a woman? And what do women think when they hear guys use that kind of? That's like sending dick pics in the email or on your phone. It becomes stupid. So here is the curious on his age. Yeah, he's around 70. Yeah, there, Val got it. So no, it has nothing to do with Salem, Massachusetts, Matthew. Totally different. I'm using the word as Puritan as an example, as puritanical. So I'm not that at all. But I do believe, like many of my friends here, I have a little bit of character. And there are certain things I don't say, certain ways I don't act. And so that's not the topic for tonight. That's an example of one of the things. You start throwing all these things in the hopper that I've mentioned: job, money, career, family, parenting, if you're in that stage still. Then you throw in politics, you throw in spirituality, you throw in civics, which is different than politics. You throw in all the current events going on around you. And then you throw in situations like this: sexuality, people abusing other people. That's abuse, by the way. With that situation I just talked about, that's abuse, pure and simple. Now, it's not that my friend Wendy can't handle herself. It's like she doesn't need knights in shining armor stepping in and she can handle herself, but it pleases her to no end. She's got men, especially, that love and care for her, that would step in and say something, that stand up for her. That's what men are supposed to do. Yeah, she might not need them, but she's got them, says Uncle Dave. That's it. So all of these things, you start putting all these things together. These are all the things that build the mush in my head. And I use that. It's not that I can't decipher things and dissect them and know how to place things and organize them in my mind, but there are some days where you're so overwhelmed by some of the daily tasks, the daily chores, the things that happen, the things you got to spend money on, the things that break down, the things that aren't working right, the bills that are late, the house that's leaking, the dog that poops in your yard and you step in it in your bare feet after spending years training your dog to poop in one little corner of the yard. The neighbor's dog walks into your yard and poops wherever he wants. So all of that to say, do you have those days where your mind turns a little mushy? Because all of these things are things that we can all wrangle. We can all organize them. We all know how to act. And if you don't know how to act in any of these kinds of situations, it ain't that far for you to be able to figure it out. It's just common sense. You apply common sense and you say, I have to apply common sense to my finances. I have to apply common sense to the time I spend with my kids. I have to apply common sense to how much time I work. I have to apply common sense to my politics, to my civic duties as a citizen of this country. I have to apply common sense to my spirituality. And so all of those things, it doesn't mean no matter how much common sense you can apply to something, no matter how organized, how maybe you got it whipped, you know what you're doing in life, but you have those days where it's like, I'm not talking about overwhelmed, like, oh, woe is me, this sad, sorry world, I'm going to end it all now. I might as well be dead. I'm not talking about that kind of response. I'm just talking about the days where you aren't paying attention to how you're reacting to things, and you find, I've just had a shitty day because of the way I've reacted to the things around me. And it turns my head to mush. So, Barbie D says I automatically block people like that. And I think that's a good plan when somebody's abusing you. I tend to, when I see somebody, when I used to have debates and stuff on my YouTube, my social media, people say, why don't you just block that jerk? I say, because I want to let him hang himself with his own rope. I will not talk in kind to someone who uses abusive language to me in public when debating. I don't name call people. I'll name call when I joke. I don't know. I see people still calling Trump the orange man in the eye. And I say, Would that be like me calling Obama the purple eggplant in the office? And I was immediately told you're being racist now. No, I'm not. I said, I'm using the same kind of moniker making that you were. I said, does that make sense to you? I still, even though I disrespect Biden, I disrespected Obama as for their political ideologies, I always referred to him as President Obama. I usually refer to Biden as President Biden. I'm starting to get a little lax on that because I don't think he even knows he's president. He didn't know where the White House was yesterday. He fumbled around trying to tell you the building that the Oval Office is located in. What did he say? He says, this place reminds me a lot of, that my Oval Office and my Oval Office over in the building like this, in Washington, the Capitol building, and just total confusion. So I've got, as you might imagine, I've got a few pointers on when your head turns to mush. There's strategies that I've enlisted. And I kind of thought about it this way. Where'd that fork go? Seriously, it's not on the table. It's not on the floor. I don't remember putting it down anywhere. I tell Rainey all the time, I don't remember putting it somewhere special to hide it from myself. I wouldn't have used it to scratch my butt because I do have some table manners. How can it just disappear? And then you look down and there it is. It's in your hand. It's like, walking around like this, and I push my glasses up, and an hour later I'm going, where the hell did I put my glasses? Boom. One of those moments. So that happened to me. The fork thing has happened to me. It's usually something like, I've got certain places I keep things, and I do that on purpose, deliberately, so I know where they are. My car keys. I walk in the house, I put them on the hook right inside the door. And I do that methodically. I do that consciously, thinking about it. And if there's ever a day where I get out of the car and I shove my keys in my pocket because I go down to pull the trash can up to the street or something like that, and I walk in and I leave them in my pocket, I might come and sit down at my desk and go, keys. I got to go hang those up. That happens on rare occasions because I usually walk in and put them up. Why? Because I want to be able to find them next time. Same with my wallet. Okay, my wallet stays. I've got several different pairs of pants that are all kind of the same make of pant. Zipper pockets on the side, cargo pockets. My wallet is rarely ever out of there except when I'm using it at a store. Why? Not because I'm OCD, but because I don't want to lose it. I want to know where it is next time. Half of the things my kids look for are like, I can't find that because I said, well, maybe next time try putting it in the same place every day. Dad. So anyway, all of these things, all these things have happened to me. And when I had my fork in my hand, it was kind of a tragic reminder that I'd been doing way too much, that my brain had turned mush. Neuroscientists call this cognitive fatigue. So everybody, when I'm talking about your brain turning to mush, do you ever have cognitive fatigue? I mean, I get cognitive fatigue almost every day these days, it seems. So what about cognitive fatigue? To preserve my faculties, I have to stick with the simpler brain mush. So mushy brain, that's a terribly common malady that every one of us, especially in the 21st century, our technological age, need to be wary of. Our poor, overworked minds just simply weren't designed for the level of hyperstimulation that we now constantly encounter. Hyperstimulation. I read a post from a friend tonight, Melissa Leeper, and she was giving her a little critique on the new Russell Crowe movie on The Exorcist, the exorcism of something. And I can't remember what it was, based on a true story of this guy. And she said, I found the movie very interesting, intriguing. She said, but I found it was too loud. She said, sometimes I love the theater. Sometimes it's just too loud and too much in my face. And so we're so overstimulated nowadays. We can get up from there. There's my phone dinging on the side. Somebody sent me a message. And so we've got all these things that are going on all at once. And how do we resist that? Sometimes a little cabin like Leslie Holker's or their house is on the lake up there. She was talking about the loons came out today. And over here, we had the mosquitoes come out today. It was 90 degrees the last couple of days. But it's going to snow on Saturday or Sunday, believe it or not. Maybe that'll kill all the new eggs from the mosquitoes. But, once upon a time, we went to bed when it got dark outside. We woke up when the sun came up. And we chased the odd woolly mammoth all around in between. Life was gloriously simple. We didn't have to contend with back-to-back Zoom meetings, peak hour traffic, the complexities of the taxation system. Tax day, by the way, is tomorrow. So Monday. We didn't have smartphones or 53 types of laundry detergent to choose from. Some you can snuff, some you can't. We weren't all multitasking maniacs, madly scrambling to get 38% of our stuff done before our eyelids finally give out on us. So 21st century humans have become great at listening to podcasts like this one while scrolling Instagram, while doing the vacuuming. We've become pretty terrible at listening to our bodies. I have a lot of trouble with that. That's like I say, the old Indiana Jones quote, it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. Mushy brain is a sign that things aren't right and it shouldn't be ignored. I got a hiccups. I don't know why. Hang on, excuse me. Mushy brain can be extremely dangerous. We can't sleep. We don't get the right nutrition. Hospital emergency rooms are full of people who've made mushy-brained mistakes. And in the waiting room, you find exhausted parents with dropped babies, exhausted chefs with sliced fingers, just ask Uncle Dave, and exhausted motorists with airbag blackened eyes. And if you need help, just hope your doctor isn't at the end of an epic shift and feeling mushy-brained himself. So mushy brain doesn't just make us terrible drivers and forgetful fork holders. It can seriously affect our moods and the way we interact with other people around us. When we're tired, we don't have the mental energy to take advantage of the glorious abilities of our prefrontal cortex. And I've only got about 4 minutes left, so if I don't make it to my 7 points, I'm building up to that, we'll hit him in the captain's cabin. So this wise part of the brain, the frontal cortex, allows us to deal with subtlety and context, to consider others' feelings, to make nuanced and rational decisions. Instead, we rely much more on our amygdala. The amygdala is far less concerned with subtlety, far more concerned with survival. It can make us far more reactive and less pleasant to be around. That's when I get grumpy. Sorry, Grumpy, I've sullied your name there. No human is perfect. None of us is a perfect productivity machine. We've biological limits, and there comes a point where working longer hours, which I always think I can do, I'll just get it done tonight. Sleeping less, squeezing in more simply doesn't work. Instead, it makes us more mushy brain, more reactive, more prone to making poor decisions. I came home from stocking tobacco shelves and watching videos for 6 hours and needed to get off my feet. I thought, what the hell? When we normalize working this way and feeling this way, we put ourselves at great risk of experiencing serious mental and physical health problems. And by the way, do you know why I came up with the mushy psychedelic brain mush syndrome for tonight's show? Because I was so worn out in my brain, I didn't want to spend any time trying to think of a good topic for tonight for Ghost Friday, Ghost Day. Because my brain was wobbly. I just leaned back on my chair just now. My brain went like that. I'm like, whoa, my mind is mushy. That's why I did that. I set aside a more important decision of trying to find a good show because I didn't have time to do it today. But I still wanted to give a good show. So I thought, what do we talk about? Let's just talk about brain mush today. Now, don't wait to make the changes you need to make. There's a lot of people that are it's going to take something like a heart attack or chronic fatigue or major depressive episode or a car crash to reassess things. None of these are fun at all. So rather than continue along this exhausting, unhealthy, uncognitive, mushy-brained path, there are some simple but very important things you can do. And I got 7 of them. That's all the prelude to my 7 strategic points when your mind has gone to mush. And we're at the end of the show for the radio audience. Radio audience, I'm sorry, we got to bug out of here. You can join us in the captain's cabin, and we'll keep talking about this, and maybe you can pick these points up. So for now, all of those of you over on Subspace Radio, Odyssey Radio, I want to wish you a good night. Come and join us in the chat room over on the YouTube channel. Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
All right, folks, welcome to the captain's cabin. And you may wonder why I play all those show intros in between. It's because I used to play my ads in there, and my ad had I could not find the original track, and it had music embedded in it from 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Remember the one where my little girl would say, hire my dad so he can take me to Disney World. Well, that ad we recorded when Rowan, who's now 11, was 4. And, but I had music, bagpipe music under it. And now it was good for 5, 6, 7 years until now you can't play it anymore because it's copyrighted music, according to YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. It's already there, but they don't want me making any money, any fraction of a 0.0001% of a penny off of that music. And I understand the copyright issue. Don't get me wrong. But if you can go listen to it for free on Facebook, or I'm sorry, on YouTube, but you can't have it on your channel. So anyway, I fill that time in between to give us a minute or two to regroup for the captain's cabin. And so I play the intros to all the shows we're doing right now. That would be respectively, it would be this show, Intrepid, and then it's Sunday with Scotty and Rainey, and then Robertson with Wendy Robertson, and then, of course, Captain's Cabin. So there you go. I don't think I do any other show. I don't have any other shows that I do. Ken's show is not my show, so I don't claim that at all. I'm just a friend and a guest, and happy to be. So here we are. I got 7 things. I want to do these because I ran us right up to the end. Let's look at these 7 strategies. These are strategies for when your mind has gone to mush. When you got nothing left, your brain is mushy. I got 7 things. Number 1, do less. Oh, I say to my wife all the time, just Rennie, stop for a while. Just do less. And the doing more might have a lot of connotations to it. I know I was asked many years ago by a psychological professional that said, why do you do so much stuff? She said, what are you running from? And I said, I'm not running from anything. And of course, learned about myself very much different. You keep yourself busy so your mind doesn't get quiet. Because when it gets quiet, you have to think about things. But first thing is do less. If you're exhausted, mushy-brained, it's a clear sign you're doing too much. Or you're sick. There's something wrong with you, physically, mentally. So you got to outsource as much as you can. You got to outsource and delegate. Ask for help. And consider whether you have the capacity to take on that next thing. And so work out what's manageable and make sure joy, rest, and relaxation are non-negotiables. You got that, folks? Listen to me. If you didn't hear me say anything else in that point, joy, rest, and relaxation should be non-negotiables in your life, rather than being shoved to the bottom of your to-do list. So if this all seems extremely scary, it may also be time to stop measuring your self-worth by your level of productivity, which is something I am very guilty of. And I think a lot of people out there are guilty of that. I measure my self-worth by what I accomplish. And granted, I've had enough people in my life say, important people to me who've said things like, that's a bad way to preface that, because not a lot of people who do that. There's a few who have said you're pretty worthless because you're not making enough money, or you're not, and it makes you want to, and that's gone on for years. And so you work very hard at trying to get somewhere, and you measure your self-worth by your productivity. And that's like that old saying I've told you before. My old pastor friend used to say, if the devil can't get you bad, he'll get you busy. Meaning, if he can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. You don't have to be bad to ruin your life. You can be, busyness can ruin your life if you're not careful. And stop measuring your self-worth by your level of productivity. Number 2, do one thing at a time. That's a tough one for me. I try to keep all the plates spinning, on the sticks. Multitasking is really just divided attention, is all it is. I used to work for somebody who bragged about the fact that she was a multitasker. She owned an ad agency. And when really all she was trying to keep all her plates spinning, and many times had several plates fly off and drop to the ground. Because her attention, when you're a multitasker, you're not really multitasking. That's a bunch of B's and bull and S's and shit. Because multitasking is just and only is divided attention. And it's constantly switching back and forth. And it puts a rather large strain on the brain. And when we mindfully work on one thing at a time, we can concentrate far better and often enter a state of flow. So you start by switching off the distracting notifications, put away that second screen, and allow your brain the luxury of focusing on just one thing. So number 1, do less. Number 2, do one thing at a time. How many of you consider yourselves to be multitaskers? Do one thing at a time, because multitasking distracts you and you actually accomplish less. So Joe Sapien says, usually when I'm doing something, I can also daydream or brainstorm. The complete opposite of doing something is to stop thinking. There you go. Joe, I can usually totally turn off my brain when somebody's talking to me and not hear a thing they've said. I've got a great talent for not paying attention. Number 3 is take time for mindfulness. Mindfulness. People try mindfulness and think that they're no good at it because they notice so many thoughts that run through their heads. This is, in fact, entirely normal. And it's a very important part of practicing mindfulness. By practicing regularly, you can become better at observing thoughts and letting go of the many that aren't helpful. Give it a shot. Discover how simply you can give your brain a break. Taking several mindful pauses, like Joe was just talking about, if I interpreted what you said correctly, Joe. Take several mindful pauses throughout the day. That can help you lower cortisol levels and decrease stress and fight fatigue. I lost my ducks, said Carlene. Nice. All my ducks have ADHD, Beth, said Valerie. Beth says, I had all my ducks in a row until the fluffy little bastard started to wander off. There it is. So take time out for mindfulness. What's mindfulness? It's concentrating less on concentrating. Just letting your mind go where you want it to go at one time. Number 4 is take a break. Taking time away from regular responsibilities can be incredibly healing. Book a break where you can rediscover rest. You can take time out. Have you done this lately? Have you ever used this word? Have you ever taken time out for wonder and enjoy whatever else it is that fills you up? Now, I know I'm really guilty of that today. I had so much to get accomplished today. And I had so many interruptions today. Dad, can you run me here? Dad, can you run me there? And some of it I could say no to. Some of it I had to say yes because it needed to be done. I had a friend, Rainey, was off working at the thrift store today, and a friend of ours, mutual friend, called and needed a ride somewhere to pick up her car. And I'm like, sure, I can do that. And you hang him and go, fuck. I gotta get up again and take my mind off of the thing I'm supposed to be focused on, and I gotta run somebody else somewhere else. I'll gladly do it for a friend, but that doesn't mean the result is that I'm not doing what I was focused on. And so my mind got scattered. But book a break sometimes. Take time out from everything. This is what my wife needs more than anything. She could use a break. But of course, when a husband has to take a second job or a job at a gas station to try to make those ends meet on those stressful, tight months, there's no extra money to send mom somewhere off. I'd love to send Rainey off on a little mini, we got a spa weekend for you. Or better yet, go with her. But she might need a break from me too. So take a break. Take a long weekend away. Uncle Dave remembers, he's sitting in the wings. I'll bring him in when I'm done with these points. But when we had the ranch, if I needed a break, I had 40 acres with woods out on that, 10 acres over there, and the big hills and the little berm that ran through with the old creek bed. And I could saddle up one of my horses and I could ride him out on my own 40 acres. Or I'd go out of the farmland around me. I'd take the dirt roads and go riding. That's how I got my mind off of things. Or I'd just go walking in the woods up on the corner of the land. Uncle Dave, if you remember that, where the house sat on the ranch, if you were looking down at the barn, and way off over there, it would have been the northeast, I believe, that corner where the woods was encroaching onto the land up there. That's I'd always go up and I'd walk in the woods up there. It was pretty neat. And when you got 8 acres of woods, that's plenty of land to go walking through the woods in. So book a break where you can rediscover your rest. Take time out for wonder. Enjoy what everything else it is that fills you up. For some, a long weekend away might be enough. Some of you might need an extended time away to rest. I know when I went to Egypt, every time I went for a month at a shot. 3 weeks, I think, was my shortest trip in Egypt. And it was just a time there was nothing to do there when we weren't just working on their site, the archaeological site. But, there wasn't the pressures of doing things like here. I could just go sit on the bank of the Nile and veg out. It was great. If it's not possible to get away, have a staycation at home. You can focus on rest, relaxation, doing the things you love. Of course, when we have staycations, what do you end up doing? You end up working around the house. So I love my children, but sometimes it'd be nice to send them away for a week. Oh, you all have camp in the same week? Wouldn't that be joyous? Mom and Dad a week alone? Yeah, and like all the ads and the commercials, you see a mom and a dad, they're all got their blankets all kicked up and they're sleeping with their limbs hanging off the bed, pillows, and they're sound asleep, and it says Mom and Dad when the kids go to camp. That's about it. Number 5 is prioritize sleep. Sleep is an immensely precious commodity that can do wonders for your brain and your body. So don't sacrifice it for phone scrolling, which I do. I'll wake up sometimes at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll scroll my phone, just sitting there so I can get back to sleep. Keeps me awake for an hour. If possible, it's best to have a regular sleep routine. Avoid screen time, stimulating substances before hitting the hay, like caffeine. So if you perform shift work, you might need to take further measures to make sure you get enough of the good stuff. So if you're struggling to sleep like I do, you're going to find a range of helpful guidelines out there with brain food, right eating habits, right sleeping habits, so on, so on, so on. You get it. But sleep better. Number 6 of 7, see your doctor. When you're super busy and you get run down, seeing a doctor might seem like the last thing you have time to fit into your schedule. But there can, however, be many factors that can contribute to cognitive and physical fatigue. So it's extremely worthwhile to get checked up on every now and then. Your general practitioner can provide advice on how to restore your health, maybe how to refer you to a sleep specialist, a dietitian, psychologist, other specialists for additional support. That stuff's out there, folks. Number 7, final point on this, ask for help. If you're already trying to do it all, don't try to do it all yourself. Be smart enough and brave enough to share what you're doing and struggling and ask for some help. Sometimes it's going to be beneficial to chat with a friend, a colleague that you trust, a family member. Sometimes talking might not help, but I was going to say sometimes you need a hug, sometimes you need a roll in the hay, whatever it might be, just ask for what you need. The pressures of being alive in the 21st century can be intense, it can be relentless, and if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. So the number one skill we all have to learn is to become experts at self-care, which so many of us, including myself, can talk a good blue streak about, but maybe aren't always the best at actually implementing it. Feeling mushy-brained, exhausted, overwhelmed isn't the norm that you, I, or anybody else wants to have. So don't make a habit of running yourself into the ground. And if you notice you're struggling, make a change. It's that simple. If you notice you're struggling, make some changes. That's what I have to do. But I'm still over busy right now, and I'm still not done doing what I'm doing. I should be doing more stuff tonight. I'm not gonna. My brain's too mushy. You know where I feel it? Right behind my eyes. It's like if I could reach in and scoop up my eyes and pop them out for a minute and, clean out the mush. I'd probably feel good. My eyes feel heavy and tired. It feels like it comes from behind me. I go, why do my eyes feel so tired and heavy? Well, because I'm worn out. So there you go, folks. That's all I have to say about that. So find ways to achieve not being mushy-brained because it's easy to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah, I doing Grand Lodge today, so I had 2.5-hour commute one way for a 3-hour stay there, and turn around and do a 2.5-hour commute back. So
there's your 8-hour day.
Yeah. Crazy. Tomorrow I get to go twice as early.
And it's the things we do. It's like 100 years ago, would we even conceive of driving somewhere 2.5 hours?
No, 100 years ago, we'd have had to get a horse and a buggy, and it had been a 3-day ride.
That's right. It's like right now, when I'm saying, I always think of this, I think of Thomas Jefferson because of places I've been and because his home in Lynchburg, he'd go from Washington, D.C. to Charlottesville, Virginia, where Monticello is, his mountain mansion home, his plantation. And by car, Monticello to Washington, D.C. is about 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Tops. By horse, if they say a good horse going at a steady clip can take you 15 to 20 miles a day. Let's say you go 20 miles a day. It was an 1.5. It was about, I want to say it was about 90 miles from Charlottesville to Washington, D.C. How many days is that by horseback? 4 to 5 days on horse to do what we can do in an hour and 25 minutes now.
Yeah.
And so
he should have flown.
He should have. He'd have just hopped the plane. So I think about that. But then when he wanted to get away from Monticello, he'd go another 4 or 5 days ride to Lynchburg, where he had his other home, Poplar Forest. It was kind of his home away from home, his Monticello away from Monticello. So, yeah. So all of that, look at what we do, Dave. We travel like you just did.
Yeah.
We go, I want to take my boy to a movie theater. And I say, we'll need an hour to get there and an hour to get home to watch a 4.5 hour movie. So what is that? It's 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
Of time. Just blocked out that time to be able to get there and then be able to spend our time watching the movie. So, times have changed. We have the ability to do that. But look at what we do to accomplish things.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty torqued this morning.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't heard about Wendy's problem until this morning, so I was pretty PO'd.
Yeah. And look at us. Look at us. All the time. We're like, wouldn't it be nice to just be able to take that break to say, no wonder. Sometimes people retire not because they don't want to work. It's because they don't want the rat race.
And yet, I keep saying to myself, if I won the lottery, I'd finance this and that and this other thing and just make more work for myself.
Yeah, that's it. If I won the lottery, I could pay people to do things.
Yep.
So, yeah, wouldn't that be nice? So, like right now, some of the stuff I'm doing, it would be the kind of stuff that you would say a master artist would pass this on to his apprentices or to his interns or whatever. And I can't afford to hire apprentices and interns. So I do that all myself, all the little nitty-gritty stuff. The nitty-gritty stuff is the stuff that makes my mind go wonky. So I like being creative, That doesn't tire me. What tires me is the all the little stuff you've got to do to make the good stuff work. So
yeah.
Good night, Carlene.
Good night, Carlene.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, so my life's going to get very hectic, I think.
Yeah.
I'll know more in the coming week, but it sounds like it's going to be the better part of a year worth of just constant to doing.
Yeah. And that's all right. That's an all right thing if that busyness is focused,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It'll be a lot of flying, I think.
Flying. Yeah. I didn't mind flying. I liked flying.
Yeah.
I liked going places, doing things. How about all of you out there in the chat room?
Probably spend about a third of the income just paying some nurse to stay here and babysit my parents.
Oh, yeah. And see, that's the other part.
Yeah.
So. Are you the only, you're not the only kid though?
No, I have a brother and a sister-in-law that live in town, but it's kind of an imposition on their schedule to take days off.
Well.
Okay.
That's what mom and dad did their whole lives, raising them.
Yeah, I know. It's all right for me too, but it's...
Yeah, it's all right for you.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a real job after all,
Yeah.
So, what's everybody in the chat room? What do y'all got to say? Who wants to call in? Talk about this a little bit. It ain't nothing to call in. Look, Dave does it every day.
Yeah,
I do it
all
every
the time.
day. Here, I'll put that in here.
I'm
If you
sure
wanna
half the
call
time
in and
Scott's
talk-
like, "Oh my God, it's Uncle Dave again." Jeez.
Well, that's the way I feel on Ken's show some days. So, but I was out for a few days this week, so
Yeah, I have been too. Just the mornings have been hectic around here.
there you go, Anita Palmer. Retirement doesn't mean you're really retired.
Yeah,
You got
well,
just have other things to do.
retirement doesn't exist for people like Scotty and I, because
No,
we will continue to create until the day we drop.
and I have to.
Yeah,
That's the thing. I don't have reserves built up to live for the next 30 years, without earning an income. Valerie, you've never flown? That just seems odd in
seriously?
this day and age. So,
Wow.
hey, Scotty, what's a real job, says Joe Sapiens. Right? A real
It's the
job is
9 to
doing what you
5
wanna do.
slug work. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
punching a clock and just sitting there and sitting in your cubicle and doing. Can't stand that myself, but
Yeah. See, now I look at my daughters. They work very hard. They have a business to run. But what is a real job? Is that a real job to them?
but they
So,
love what they're doing, so it doesn't seem like work.
yeah.
It's just like when I was full time in the film industry, 16-hour days were a norm. And in fact, I was on a shoot out east. We had one day that we had a 24-hour day. We had a set period of time that we had access to a location, and we just continued to shoot until the clock ran out.
Yep.
And shot through the night. And just kept going and going and going, and then packed up, and everybody drove home or drove
Yeah.
back to where we were basically set up as base camp. And
Yeah.
and that was the norm, but it didn't seem like work. Because
Yeah.
every day on a film set, I don't care how crappy it is, you're on a film set and you're having a good time. So,
Yeah.
and
certain things, yeah.
when you're directing a film, that's a whole year out of your life. You've got pre-production, you've got production time, you've got post-production time. That's a year gone from your life. But it flies by, and it just doesn't seem like work no matter how long the days are. And you're always on. You're never really having a day off, because even if you're just sitting there, your brain's working on some problem that has to be solved, and you're probably doing 2 or 3 other things at the same time.
Right. And that's it.
Creative
It's around
process.
here. There's no. I heard Rainey yelling at the kids a little earlier when I was doing something working down here. She said, she said, you keep wanting me to do these things for you. She said, I do have other things I have to do around here. You're keeping me from getting my work done. She'll say, and that's not because the child doesn't deserve attention.
Yeah.
It's that the child will tap you of all your attention.
Yeah.
Like, look, you are old enough to play. And you're old enough to do things. And you got to do some things, and let certain times of the day, let mom do what mom needs to do, and dad too. So
Yeah. She's attached at the hip to her mom.
Arlene Guntz says, my retirement is tanking in Biden's economy. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
Ain't that the truth?
I hear that.
Well, anyway, I am voraciously tired.
I hear you.
So I am going to call this show, even though we've still got a bunch of people. We got twice as. I usually will call the show early if I see the numbers go way down on the chat window. But we still got a lot of you out there. But I'm going to.
Thanks for hanging in, folks.
Hopefully tease you wanting more. Oh, he left us hanging. I want
What
more
time
of
is your
that.
opening tomorrow?
My opening.
With shirts, the Patriot thing.
Oh, it's going to be Monday.
Oh, Monday.
Got pushed out to Monday.
Okay.
So they want to make sure they have all the P's dotted and the I's queued. So,
Sure.
But thank you, Barbie D. And I hope it's meaningful for everybody. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to sleep after this.
I am
Within
too.
the next 20 minutes, I will
So I
probably
can get up at
sleeping.
6.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to get up on a Saturday and go do the gas station thing for 6
One
hours.
more day of Grand Lodge so they can tell us how they're going to spend our money.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes.
It's one of these things where I'm so frustrated with them right now that, we've spent or want to spend more money than we have in our budget. So rather than taking money out of our bank, which we can afford, we're just going to charge all you people more money.
There it is.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the government does?
Are you part of the Congress now? What?
Yeah, really. Are you part of this administration?
Oh my God! Even the libs have stood up and said, "Whoa! What? You're going to do what?"
Yeah. Yeah, it starts getting to be too much. Anybody with common sense.
Yeah.
They got to step away from party if you have to step away from party. So,
yeah.
All right. On that highly positive note,
Be
I'm
well,
going to
sir.
go get some sleep, and I'm
Get
going to
some sleep.
go
Take care of
rest a little
yourself.
bit. Hopefully
Give the kids
catch
a
my
hug.
wife
Give
if
your
she's
wife a
still
hug for
awake
me.
upstairs. And any kids that are still awake up there, it's Friday night, so they're probably
Yeah, they're all awake.
They're all awake. It's just been really quiet for the last 45 minutes. Have been silent. I haven't heard anything.
Oh my God! So, maybe they have Rainy tied up.
They might have gone outside. It's nice enough.
It's beautiful out. They're probably outside riding around in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Creating problems for other people. That's fine.
That's it. All right, Dave. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
Good night.
Everybody else, get some rest. Take the time you need to take. Do what you need to do. And prioritize joy and relaxation. Try that one on for a while. Live long and prosper.